Video thumbnails are one of the most important elements of getting people to watch your video. Apart from the video title, thumbnails are what engage people's eyes to be able to click on your video to watch the content. So how do you make a thumbnail that engages people and tells them what your video is about and supports the title? I'm going to show you how I make my thumbnails in Adobe Photoshop right after this. Handy Hudsonite here. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I focus on tips, hacks, and reviews so that you can get the job done. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you can get up to date on when my videos go up. Video thumbnails are one of the most important aspects of getting people to watch your videos on YouTube. You see a lot of different techniques that people use to get people to click on their video, whether it's a quality image, whether it's using a lot of text, whether it's using bold colors. What's the best strategy for getting people to click on your thumbnail to watch your content? Well, I'm going to show you the way that I make my thumbnails in Adobe Photoshop and take you through the process of how I do that. And be sure to keep watching because I'm going to give you a SEO hack that you can build into your thumbnails in two different ways in Adobe Photoshop. So let's get into it. Here's my YouTube channel homepage, and I am going to show you quickly that I have the main colors of this brown in my background. And then if you look down at my thumbnails, you will see a very consistent look and feel with the text, with the colors, with me here on the right side. And I'm mainly using three different colors, or I should say four different colors if I include the text. Would be this bluish color, this brown, red, and then white for the text. And you'll see that in several of my recent thumbnails. Now if you go back to some of my older videos when I was trying to discover more of my branding style, those are a little different. I plan on going back and updating those at some point. But if you look at my last several recent ones, you'll see this consistent look and feel, and you'll see the nice contrast between me and the background. Now, a couple things that I want to mention here: when you're making thumbnails, you want to make sure that you do not put any text up here in this upper right corner. As you can see, when I hover over it, this watch later symbol comes up. Also down here you have the timestamps. You want to make sure there is no text down in this lower right corner, which is why I usually put myself on the right side, and then my text and description over here on the left. And one other thing I want to mention is my text is very limited. It's very brief. There's usually just a couple of words on each line, sometimes just one word. Maybe even an icon here on the line like I did here in my last video, and an icon here, and usually a different pose with me to bring some attention to it. Now in these two here I have the same image, so those should probably be different, but as I get into my more recent videos you'll see that I have more unique expressions or different props that I'm using here. So let's look at how I make thumbnails. I'm going to go into Photoshop. I'm using Adobe Photoshop CC 2019, and if you're not using Photoshop, you can adopt a lot of these same strategies in your own program in the way that you make your thumbnails. And obviously you don't have to make your thumbnails exactly the way that I do. My coloring is going to be different than yours. You may want a different type of layout, but I'm going to go through the process of how I make mine so that you can get a sense of how to do this. And if you're unfamiliar with some of these cropping techniques, here how I cut out the background, especially here in Photoshop, I will show you how to do that. So what I do, since I've already created so many different thumbnails, I like to just open the most recent and modify it. And so you can see the basic setup here in Photoshop. So what I do to begin the process for my last thumbnail is I'll left click on me, which highlights down here in the layer, and what I do is I just click that so it disappears. And another thing that I do is I get these things out of the way so that I can work on the image of me, because I have to do some cutting out of that image and I don't want these in the way. So I will just get rid of these, or at least make them invisible, so that I can work on my image. So we'll come up here to File, and we want here to Place Linked. Okay, so I have opened up my image here, and I will hit either the enter or this check mark to put it in. I'll move it a little bit over to the side to begin with. Now, obviously, I could leave this background. It wouldn't be bad if I did, but I really want to call attention to me and to the text and the icons that I'm going to put in the thumbnail. And really, when you're looking at this thumbnail, especially on mobile, a lot of these things are not going to be that visible anyway. So there's two ways you can do this. You can either use this tool here, the quick selection tool, and you could go through and highlight, you could go through and just highlight me. This is a much faster method of doing it, but I would say it's not quite as precise when it comes to cutting me out, and for that reason you can see that it estimates a lot of where the edges are, and you have to go in here and really fine-tune it. And I found that even when I do that, my edges around me come out to be kind of rough and jagged. So the tool that I prefer here is the pen tool. Let me hit Control or Command D to get rid of that from the quick selection. Now this is something that just is going to take some time, because you want to make sure this is as accurate as possible. And I will usually, so I start down here on the edge, and I will usually bring it in just a little bit from the edge of the image, just so that you have a little bit to work with when you go to highlighting the outside, the outer glow it's called, which I'll show you how to do after I do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through here, get that up a little more. I'm going to go through here and highlight this, and I'm going to speed this up so that you don't have to painstakingly watch me do this for several minutes. And then I will show you how I lay this out and how to get an outer glow on it, technique that I use to bring a little bit more attention to me and the image. So let me speed this up. Okay, so I have now outlined my whole image of myself. As you can see by the blue squares all the way around, those are all my different all my different cuts using this pen tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this, or I'm on a Mac, so hit Control and then click and do Create Vector Mask. So as you can see, that removes all of the natural background from the image, and so you can see it just has me cropped out here. Now we're going to come down here to the layer menu. As you can see, this image of me is highlighted here, what we're going to do is hit the Control click button, go into blending options, and then you'll notice many different ways of highlighting this. There's an inner shadow, inner glow, color overlay. I'm going to go down here to the outer glow, and I've already optimized this to where I want it, but you can change this to your liking and to the color you want. I've got a grayish color, grayish white. So I'm just going to click OK, and that will put that outer glow there. Now, as you can see, I still have these blue squares highlighted around me. I'm just going to hit the escape button. I'm going to move the image to where I want it by just clicking on it. And again, I went up here to this setting here, the move tool. You can also hit V on your keyboard. And I'm just going to put this to where I want it. I actually want to make myself a little bigger. So what I'm going to do is, and again, I'm on a Mac, I'm going to do Command T. If you're on a PC, it might be Control T, I believe. And then I want to stretch this, but you got to be careful not to distort it. So I'm going to hit the Option key on my Mac, and then in this corner just drag it so it's bigger. And again, because I mentioned earlier about when you have your thumbnail on mobile, everything is just so much smaller and hard to see. So I think I'm going to probably put it, and it's okay if part of me is off the thumbnail here. I'm going to put it about there. I'll hit enter to confirm it. As you can see, it's I'm much larger, much more prominent here. I want my face to be a little more prominent in that. So I also may want to brighten up my face here. So come here to exposure. Probably just bump that up a little bit so my face is a little brighter. That's good. Click OK on that. And then what we're going to do now is bring back in this text and the different colors I had in initially. And what we need to do is change up this text and this icon here, because obviously this is a different video. I'm not focusing on video editing. I'm focusing on making engaging thumbnails. So a strategy with the thumbnails that is good to take is you want to have aspects of your title in here without having it say exactly the same thing. So what I'm going to do, and in order to edit this text, you need to come down here and select the text tool. And one thing that I'm considering using here, and you can use all caps or regular case is fine. If I could spell, click bait. And I may take this image out. Oh, not that. This one. Okay. And highlight this. I want to move this over. You can use your arrow key. You could use your mouse as well. I'll just use the arrow key just so I can keep it on the same horizontal plane. Now you want to leave a little bit of space between the word and the edge because it could get cut off. So I'm going to call that, clickbait, and then down here we'll say our thumbnails. Now this one almost looks like there's a shadow over that. We're going to make that a little bigger. And don't worry, we can move it down. Make it similar in size to the one on top. And click on it, bring it down so we're more centered in the box. I may want to make this just a tad bit smaller because it looks like it's a little bit overrun over here. It's probably good. And you really want to choose text that's going to engage people, get their attention, which is part of the reason why clickbait is an interesting word. Almost sounds spammy, but it really isn't. It's just getting people to click through to see what you have. Okay, so clickbait thumbnails. Now I've already selected a couple of images here, and I'm going to replace this Premiere icon. So I clicked on it. You can actually come over here to the layer where it's at and either right click, or I'm going to do control click on my Mac and come down, and you can do a replace contents, and we will use this one first. I actually have two, and that's too small, so I'll click on it, Command T, and then click Option to, I'm not sure if I want to use the black, because that's kind of going against, it's adding another color to my thumbnail, doesn't it? But I wanted to, let's see what this looks like. And then I'm going to want to add another icon. And this is going to be a clicking icon, and that's very big, so we'll bring that down. Now, a way you can move both of these images at the same time would be you can click on it and then hit Command and, I'm sorry, not Command, Shift, and click on the other one. Then you can move them both around at the same time. Try to get this in the center in between me and the other side. Okay. And you want to make sure to save this as you go in case Photoshop crashes. You're not going to lose all of your work. Now, the nice thing about thumbnails is you can always update them at any point. They're not going to affect the ranking of your video. And it's good to experiment with them, but you, you may want to consider waiting about 30 days before you change up a thumbnail, especially if it's not performing, if the video is not performing well. You can wait those 30 days, change up the thumbnail, and see if it gets better engagement. It's actually a really good strategy to undertake. Now, at the beginning of the video, I promised 2 SEO tips when it comes to thumbnail images. And these are powerful tips. Now, again, if you're in a different editor, look into how you can do this in your editor. But the first tip is what anybody can do in any editor, it doesn't matter, and it's the name of your file. And this is very important because Google owns YouTube. YouTube's the second largest search engine on the planet. You want to make sure that your file name is SEO optimized. So if we come in here and we'll just do save as, even though I've already saved it, you will see that my file name is the exact same name as the title of my video. So that's the first SEO tip. The second SEO tip isn't quite as obvious, but it's a powerful feature built into Photoshop. You go to File, go to File Info. Okay, here, and Photoshop gives you the opportunity to put in keywords right into the metadata of the image. So I am going to just copy and paste. Oops. I'm going to copy and paste those keywords that I had over there. And up here, I just have a description for my channel, and then my author name, Handy Hudsonite. And this is just a great way to build those in, and make sure to save it again, to build those keywords into your thumbnail so that it can rank higher on YouTube. So that's how I make my thumbnails, and take my tips, take these principles to make your own. You don't have to make them exactly like mine. But again, remember to keep the right side more open, because you've got the timestamp down here, you have the watch later icon up here, and that gives people the ability to see your titles very easily. See how large those are, because if I scale down and you're looking at mobile size thumbnails, everything begins to look really small, and so these things really stand out against that background. And again, my brown, reds, and blues are my brand colors, and it goes right along with my channel color here. And this blue and this red are actually complementary colors to this brown in a branding guide. So that's how you make an engaging YouTube thumbnail. If you want to know ways to speed up the exporting process in Adobe Premiere Pro, then check out this video up here. If you want to check out how to grow your YouTube channel, then watch these videos down here, and I will see you in the next video.